The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
I cannot express to you how excited I am right now to be back in the 3 box. Yes, to the right of me on the 3 box. You cannot see this if you are listening right now on audio, but if you're watching on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel, you will see to the right of me in the 3 box is our official JBSR NHL Power Rankings. And because it is the first of the month, it is time to update those Power Rankings. Below me, you will see my laptop, where right now I have opened the team stats from the NHL season last season. And box number 3 is me. Hello, I am me. And before we get started here with all of this fun stuff, I do have a couple programming notes, because I've been working on season previews for the upcoming NHL season, because right now, like, quickly, the NHL season is approaching. We're about a month and change away from the NHL season. So you're going to get from me division previews. I'm going to do all 4 divisions, and they're going to come out. I'm going to drop the first one today, the Pacific Division preview. But I wanted to note that it was recorded before Thursday's tragic events, before the Goudreau brothers passed away. So I just want to note that when that was recorded, it was before Thursday. And you're going to get the previews over the next several days. So today, and then tomorrow, and then two more, because it's 4 divisions. And then I want to note that for the Metro Division preview, I'm leaving out Columbus. I don't feel like it's respectful. I feel like it's in poor taste, and I don't feel it's respectful to the players and the organization and the Goudreau family to be doing a preview from a hockey side of things on the Columbus Blue Jackets. So in the Metro, we're going to do 7 teams. We're going to rank them in 7 teams. And for today's episode, I also want to point out that we'll be doing 31 teams. As I just said, my feelings about ranking them from a hockey perspective right now is just not the time. So in this Power Rankings for September, we're gonna do 31 teams on the board here. So those are your programming notes. I've done enough yapping. Let's get this thing underway, because the theme of today is, what are we doing here? I sat down and I looked at the Power Rankings over the last 2 months, and right now you have filled out Panthers, Oilers, Rangers, Canucks. That's the top 5. And when I got to the Preds and Avalanche, I was just filling out. I was like, okay, how am I looking at this? There's just a couple teams I've gone down the list, and I said, what are we doing here? You know, I've been looking at some of the stats from last season and some of the additions that teams have made, and these teams have made me say, what are we doing here? So today it's going to be a little different, where I'm just going to point out teams and move them up and down, because where I had them in the rankings, where we had them in the rankings, because this is a team effort. I do read all of your comments and feedback on where things are. Some of them did make me say, what are we doing here? And the first one is the Colorado Avalanche. So, as you can see on the screen, we are locked in with our top 5. I don't think there's any problem with that as of September 1st. Panthers, Oilers, Rangers, Canucks, Stars. Top 5 locked in. I know the Oilers have gone through a bit of a mess in August with the offer sheets that Doug Armstrong placed, and he stole to Broberg and Holloway. But I think they're still number 2. At number 5, it needs to be the Colorado Avalanche. I have here in front of me I can't type because it's in front of the microphone, but we got it. We're good. Okay, so Colorado is getting moved up from slot 7 to 6. +1. I wrote a little +1 next to their name. They're moving up from 7 to 6, because I looked at Colorado and Nashville. Nashville was at 6, Colorado was at 7, and I said, what are we doing here? Colorado was the highest scoring team from last season, and Nashville, I was really hyped on them because of all the additions they've made this offseason, but one team did it. I get Nashville was in the second round. They looked really good, and then Vancouver beat them and all that fun stuff and yada, yada, yada. But they weren't in the second round. They lost in the first round. They lost to Vancouver. That was the first round matchup. What am I talking about? They didn't even make the second round. Colorado, during the regular season, proved what they are. And in my mind, I have this idea that Colorado has no depth and they can't put the puck in the back of the net. And some of that just blinded me by the fact that nobody scored more goals than the Avalanche. So they get moved up. Plus, on the PP on special teams, they were 5th. Like, they scored like crazy. And Nashville, with all these new additions, Marchessault, Stamkos, Brady Shea, it's going to take a little bit for all of that to acclimatize. They're going to take a second to be good again. So we're moving them down one spot. And like, I'm moving them down one spot. Chill, Nashville fans. Don't be upset. But I'm just slowing the hype train a little. And I'm saying Nathan MacKinnon, the Avalanche, deserve a little bit more respect on the board right now. My second, what are we doing here, is I'm gonna pull up the standings here from last season too, because if you look at the standings from last season, yeah, Nashville 4th in the Central, and then 4th in the Pacific, the Vegas Golden Knights. 4th in the Pacific, Vegas Golden Knights. Okay, that's cool, but in a much tougher division, the Tampa Bay Lightning finished 4th in the Atlantic. 98 points for the Tampa Bay Lightning, 98 points for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Tampa made a lot of changes this offseason. They're a new look Lightning because of the loss of Steven Stamkos, obviously. But they add Jake Gensel. And I was a little too low on where Tampa was because I hate the idea of them losing Stamkos. Like, that's your franchise player. I think he's still good. I think he's got a lot left in him. I didn't like, you lose Sergachev, you bring in McDonough, you bail on Tanner Jeannot. It felt like a weird offseason, but if we just go head-to-head Lightning Golden Knights, I think I got to put just a little more respect on what the Lightning did in the toughest division in the sport. I think that's fair to say. The Atlantic right now is the toughest division. They finished 4th in a season where they didn't have Vasi for a lot of it. And the Golden Knights are trending downwards, if we're all being honest. From their Stanley Cup winning season, they've lost a lot of key pieces, and they're not the same threatening Golden Knights that they were in previous years. And they're always a team that's plagued by injuries. So I'm just flip-flopping here because I look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're still the Lightning, and I think, what are we doing here? They're the Lightning. Let's give them this spot here. At 8, the Golden Knights are moved to number 9. So after I finish typing this, all right, Golden Knights, and we're going to do -1. All right, Golden Knights have moved from 8 to 9. Lightning have moved from 9 to 8. All right, Winnipeg, Toronto, Boston, all sticking the same. I don't think there's any what are we doing here is with those teams. I feel like that's fair as of right now. We'll see where we land in a month, but I will read off the top 12 to you for everybody listening. We're going Panthers, Oilers, Rangers, top 3. Canucks, Stars, Avalanche, top 6. 7 Predators, 8 Lightning, 9 Golden Knights, 10 Jets, 11 Maple Leafs, 12 Boston Bruins. Now we get to the Caps, Devils, Hurricanes. And here we go with another what are we doing here? It's the Hurricanes dropping 6 spots in the August rankings. I took it too far. I took it way too far. I'm down on the Hurricanes, but the Hurricanes are still going to be a decent team. I'm going to pull them up on Daily Faceoff here. This is still a team that went to the Eastern Conference semifinals. They got smoked by the Rangers early on, but then fought back really hard against the Rangers and almost did the impossible. They got to Game 6, but they didn't get to a Game 7. But they made it really close. They made it really close in the end. They didn't get swept. But they still have Svesh, Aho, Jarvis as their top line, which is still a good line. And the re-signing of Marty Necas changes things a little bit now that you know that Marty Necas is going to stick around. Their defense is still Slavin, Burns, Orlov, Walker. Don't really hate it at all. Gostisbehere and Chatfield there in the top 6. I dropped them too many spots last time, and I'm just trying to make up for it a little. Carolina Hurricanes, net the 2 months, are still like a -4 from when we first dropped them, but they're going up +2 spots to number 13 in the league behind the Boston Bruins. And if we go to the standings too, if you remember the standings from last year, the Hurricanes were 3 points away from the President's Trophy. The Rangers won the President's Trophy with 114 points. The Hurricanes had 111 points. Like, I knocked them down way too much. Even at the 13th best team in the league, they still might be a little too low, but let's fix this. We had a lot of what are we doing here in August. Let's put the Hurricanes back at number 13 here on our power rankings. Now at 14, I think we got to go Caps and Devils as we had them in last month. The Devils are getting a lot of love for a rebound season, but the Caps also had a very good offseason. So I just need to see it from these two teams to see which one out of these Metro teams will actually be the better one next season. And because, I wrote +2, because the Capitals were actually a playoff team last year and the Devils were not, I have to give the Capitals the edge here at 14 and 15. So 14, we have the Capitals. 15, we have the Devils. Now we get to another what are we doing here? And that's the Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken had, I believe, let me just make sure I don't just say some false info here. But no, I'm not going to say false info here at all. Always double check your imagination and what you read earlier. And I did, and it confirms everything that I thought about the Kraken. They were abysmal trying to score goals last season. And in terms of their goaltending, they got otherworldly goaltending from guys you shouldn't expect to have otherworldly goaltending. Right now, their goaltenders are, we're going back to Daily Faceoff, Philip Grubauer and Joey Daccord, who gave them great goaltending. Do we expect that to happen again? Seattle's problem is they have no offense. And what did they do? They went out and they got Chandler Stevenson, who's not going to provide a whole ton of offense. If you don't count like getting good assists offense, like he's not going to score a bunch of goals. So I don't know why I have the Kraken above the Islanders and Kings, two playoff teams. Like, what are we doing here? Why did I have them at number 16 above two playoff teams? I got to drop the Kraken here from 16, and it's going to be a pretty big, steep drop because I don't think they're better than the Red Wings. I don't think they're better than the Minnesota Wild. We got to go at number 16. The New York Islanders. Islanders. There we go. They are moving up one spot. So the Islanders are at 16. The LA Kings are now at 17. They move up one spot. The Minnesota Wild are now at 18. They move up one spot. And then we can throw in, now even Detroit. Detroit was a playoff team for a lot of last year. The hot start they had to the beginning of the year, there's no way I should have the Kraken above the Red Wings. Like, what are we doing here? So we're putting the Red Wings up to 19 +1. I know they faltered to end the season, but Seattle was never in it. So why would they ever be ahead of the Red Wings? So finally, we get to the Kraken here, and we'll put the Kraken at number 20. That was an egregious place to have them at 16. So they fall 1, 2, 3, 4 slots. -4 for the Seattle Kraken. We are making a lot of adjustments and correcting our mistakes here. I also put an exclamation mark instead of a 1 for the Predators. So let's fix that. Pittsburgh, you can stick around at number 21. I'm not moving you, even though we may move that at the beginning of October, depending on how things go. The St. Louis Blues will have to be pushed down. Oh, you know what? I'm moving the next what are we doing here on the list is the Philadelphia Flyers, who deserve just a pat on the back, some respect for what they did last season in terms of being in the playoff hunt for the large majority and in a playoff spot for the large majority of last season. But they did fall below the Penguins at the end of the day. So I don't know if I could put them above the Penguins. I was going to move the Flyers up above the Blues for sure, but then also maybe the Penguins, but I don't think I can do that. The Penguins also finished with a positive goal differential. I have the standings up right here, the +4, and the Penguins were so close to being a playoff team if they could have just got a little bit of their power play together, a couple more saves, a couple more timely goals. The Penguins I don't think they're as bad as people think they are, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I'm leaving them at 21. The Blues, however, the Blues fought hard for a wild card spot, but I don't think they were ever really a threat. So what I'm debating here out loud with you right now is trying to put some respect on the Flyers for being in a playoff spot all year and moving them ahead of the Blues. But I'm struggling to find a way to do that because I don't know if now how Doug Armstrong is acting, trying to be like, we're winning, we did the offer sheet thing. I believe in our team. I don't know if I can reward the Flyers because I don't know if they're a better team than the Blues. The Blues right now, if we look at their roster on Daily Faceoff, it's Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Brandon Saad, Pavel Buchnevich, Braden Shen, Dylan Holloway, Radek Faska. I'm not going to try and pronounce Toropchenko's name. I just did. There we go. Matthew Joseph, Oscar Sundquist, and Alexander Texier. The defense is something more to be desired. Ryan Suter, okay, he's very old. Nick Leddy and Colton Parayko. Then in goal, you got Binnington and Hofer. Torrey Krug they have on injury here. So I like the Blues roster more than the Flyers. Plus, the Blues did finish with more points than the Flyers last season. I don't think the Flyers can get... This isn't going to be the power rankings where we throw some respect towards the Flyers. I tried, but I don't like their roster more than the Blues right now. So the Flyers are going to have to stick at number 23. I didn't know there'd be such a debate at 22 and 23 amongst myself here. So 22 is the Blues. We'll start from 20. 20 was the Kraken. 21 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. 22 is the St. Louis Blues. 23 is the Philadelphia Flyers. And last month at 24, we had Utah HC / the Arizona Coyotes. This is, I think, the biggest what are we doing here on the entire list because Utah last season finished as the seventh place in the Central Division. They were the 27th worst team in the NHL. They were bad. And in terms of upgrades, their young players are going to get better. Cool. All right. That's with every young team. They added Sergachev. Great. That's one guy. What's the wholesale changes that are going to bump you out of 27th in league standings? Like, a couple teams might get worse, but having Utah all the way up in 24 for no other reason than like I'm excited about them being in Utah. We gotta move them down below a team like Buffalo, who finished 22nd in the standings, and for a time there, you're like, oh, Buffalo could make a charge at a playoff spot. Even though before they like kind of faltered at the end. Ottawa, who's always been in the up and coming, maybe when they put it together, young team. I think Ottawa's on a better trajectory than Utah. Montreal, who is like, Montreal's putting things together right now. Montreal has a lot of promising stuff. And the Calgary Flames are the last what are we doing here team on the list because Calgary gets a big bump up above the Blackhawks. But the Flames even probably should be ahead of Utah HC. So we're putting Buffalo here. Buffalo Sabres get bumped up one spot to number 24. Boom. Calgary gets 25. Calgary gets a huge jump in the power rankings. Calgary goes from 29 because that was a what are we doing here? Why do I have them below the Blackhawks? Like, Jesse, come on. What are we doing here? They go 1 slot, 2 slots, 3 slots, 4 slots up to number 25. And then the Ottawa Senators get bumped up here to, they will stick around in their slot. Montreal over Ottawa? Like, okay, let's go to Daily Faceoff. Let's just look at those rosters here as we close this thing out. Montreal, Slav, Suzuki, Caulfield, Newhook, Doc, Line. Does the Line edition, which happened after August, after our August power rankings, bump Montreal over Ottawa? Matheson, Gooley, Hudson, Savard, Jack-Eye, Justin Barron. Goalies, we got Montembeault and Primo. Let's go to the line combos of the Ottawa Senators. Kachuk, Stutz, Giroux. Perron, Norris, Batherson. Greg, Pinto, Amadio. That's the top three lines. Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Jensen. Ooh, I don't like the bottom of the D pairings for the Senators. Allmark and Forsberg, great tandem there. Does having Allmark bump Ottawa slightly ahead of the Montreal Canadiens? Plus, if we look at stats from last year, goals for Montreal was 26th. Ottawa was 20th. Goals against. No, let's sort it the other way. Ottawa was 28th. Montreal was 27th. How's their power play? How's the special teams? In terms of power play right now, Ottawa's 23, Montreal's 20. Montreal was not great last year on any of these major stats. Montreal on the penalty kill, Ottawa on the penalty kill is 29th, Montreal's 24. So they kind of break even. Montreal's a little worse on the stats side of things. I like the high end of Montreal's lineup a little bit more. No, I like the high end of Ottawa's lineup a little bit more. I like the low end of Montreal's lineup a little bit more. I think 26 and 27 are interchangeable. Let's stick with what we got. 26 Ottawa, 27 Montreal Canadiens. We're leaving it. Maybe we fix that for October. Next up, we will have Utah HC, who falls from 24 to 28. That is a 4-spot difference. Calgary was at 29. Chicago. Let me just fix this typo on Utah. All right. Utah HC -4. We had Calgary at 29, but Chicago will now take over 29, and they fall 1 spot. Lastly, what are we doing here? No. Chicago's got to fall 2 spots here. San Jose's got a more promising season ahead of them than the Chicago Blackhawks. What are we doing here? I love San Jose's additions, if I'm being perfectly honest. San Jose adds Celebrini. I'm going to pull it up on Daily Faceoff after I finish writing Blackhawks. So San Jose adds Macklin Celebrini, obviously, through the draft. But then they also get to bring up Will Smith, which will be a huge addition. And then they add Tyler Toffoli, Alex Wenberg, Barclay Goodrow, Cody Ceci with Edmonton. That trade happened after August's power rankings. Jake Wallman as well. And then they made the Askarov trade. San Jose gets a big round of applause. You get to move up here to number 29 on the power rankings, +2. Chicago will be 30. Anaheim will be last in 31. So there you go. I will read it off. Our NHL Power Rankings for September are complete. Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers, New York Rangers, top 3. Number 4, Vancouver Canucks. Number 5, Dallas Stars. 6, Avalanche. 7, Predators. 8, Lightning. 9, Golden Knights. 10, Jets. 11, Maple Leafs. 12, Bruins. 13, Hurricanes. 14, Capitals. Devils, Islanders, Kings at 15, 16, 17. Wild, Red Wings, Kraken at 18, 19, 20. Penguins, Blues, Flyers at 21, 22, 23. Sabres, 24, 25, Calgary. Ottawa, 26, 27, Montreal, 28, Utah, 29, San Jose. Blackhawks, Ducks round out the bottom 2. That is all. We have done it. That was an adventure. I feel like the power rankings are more solid now. I am leaving this more confident that this is the correct power of NHL team. Is that, I don't even, like, where does the term power rankings come from? I don't even, that's just, it's a term we use. I don't even know where it comes from. I got to look that up after this. This is the power of the NHL teams and their correct rankings. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments below. Yell at me because your favorite team is too low. Applaud, please, if your favorite team is too high and you're excited. Or if they're correctly predicted, if they're correctly power ranked, hey, say that as well. Whatever you want to comment, let me know in the YouTube comments on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. I appreciate every single subscription. I'll be back, as I mentioned off the top. You'll get a video tonight of my Pacific Division preview for this upcoming season, and look out for the rest of the division previews over the next 3 days. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be watching or listening to this right now, and I appreciate that. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.